Mic check, mic check. It's just two cool guys making one cool podcast.
The two least cool guys in the world making a podcast that no one listens to.
Two extremely horny people making a podcast about the bus.
Welcome to Are You Into Bus Stuff? I am Lucas Riley. You can find me online at Blurbinist on Instagram and Threads, as well as blurbinist@gmail.com.
I can't be found anywhere.
And that's for the best.
Yeah. No, my name is Ben Carnero, depending on who you ask. I just put up my website at bencarnero.com.
The
but
BDC.
I run a few websites, the nicest of which is roadway.report.
But yeah, welcome. By this
welcome to
point,
the pod.
if you are a listener, you
haven't
know
left
our
yet.
beat. It's incredible. I had a dream that somebody listened to the podcast and contacted me about it. So listeners, if you're out there, contact me about it. Make my dreams come true.
We love you, if you're a listener, beautiful listener. We need you.
Beautiful, sensual listener.
Just two horny guys making a podcast.
Goodness gracious. One day we'll be like Rogan.
It's cold. It's so cold outside. It's snowing here in Austin, in beautiful Austin, Texas. But when I picture Denver, I imagine it being like way more fucked up. Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, really, we have beautiful weather here. We did have a cold snap. We got, 3 or 4 inches of snow. I was in Grand Junction, so I actually missed it. But we got 3 or 4 inches of snow, and then we had a real cold snap. We had, 48 hours where it didn't get above about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Last night, the low was in the negatives, pushed towards -10. So it was really cold here, just as it was across the whole Midwest. Again, a reason why I argue that Denver is a part of the Midwest, because when these, cold fronts push down, that Arctic chill pushes down, Denver gets touched as well.
Bro, you've got no Arctic chill, and it's because you were touched as well. Sorry, you were saying.
But it's going to climb up to about 41 degrees today. And I mean, we get a lot of snow. Our snowiest month tends to be March. It's really a beautiful place to live. We, famously have 300 days of sunshine. Today it is sunny and beautiful. And I'm excited. I'm probably going to get out, go for a walk a little bit later, enjoy the crisp air while the snow starts to melt a little bit. But I mean, Austin really pretty much shuts down when it gets below 30 degrees.
You wouldn't fucking believe it, dude. So we got 1 inch of snow, and it is like 28 degrees outside, and the roads are empty. Like,
yeah,
it's Tuesday morning. It's like commuting time. I biked home to record this podcast, and I was completely alone on the roads. There was a little bit of ice on the roads. It was chilly. It wasn't pleasant, I will say.
How was your bike ride on the roads? I mean, your bike isn't really equipped for weather.
I got those little skinny boy tires, so I was slipping a little bit, but it was chill. Last night at work, when it started snowing, and my Texas ass was like, thinking like, fuck, I didn't drip my faucets. Like, what am I going to do? I was like, because I wanted to go sleep with my girlfriend's, but I've forgotten to drip my faucets on the way out the door to work.
So you had to head back home?
Well, no, I just kind of didn't do it, and it was fine. But
yeah. I mean, how cold did it get? Like 25?
Yeah, like 25 degrees. And I left the heat on, so.
I mean, the first year that we were in Texas, the pipes froze at that house on Silver Spur over by Chisholm that we lived in.
Yeah.
Our pipes froze that year. That was pretty terrible. I remember I went over to Riley Johnson's house and took a shower.
Bro, what I'd give right now to take a shit in Riley Johnson's family's bathroom.
Were you there that night we saw a centipede in his backyard?
No, I don't think I was.
It was scary, man. And Riley went and got the weed whacker, and he was all dramatic about it. It was pretty fun.
Theater kids, man.
Yeah. Yeah. You see
Oh,
those folks at
goodness.
all?
No. Fuck. Can you imagine for running into
I
Caddy Tyler George?
I ran into Ellie Mock at the theater a while back.
Ellie Lang.
Lang, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever her husband's surname is, but she seemed to be doing real good. They were having a night away from the kids. And
She
yeah, it was
has
good to see her.
kids.
Oh yeah.
And a
Oh, yeah.
career, man. She's, goodness.
Yep, husband, career, and kids trifecta, the holy trinity, if you will.
No, good for her. She was always a really intelligent person.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Very kind. It was awesome. She let us get drunk at her lake house.
Her dad hated me because I dated her sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
I was a little shithead, too.
I would hate you too, probably. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting, talking about Austin completely shutting down. I remember that because I came from southern Utah, northern Arizona when I moved to Texas, and I remember when we got that first cold snap that first winter I was there, and we got maybe half an inch of snow, and I was like, wait, school is closed?
School is fucking closed.
We used to get like a foot and a half in Flagstaff, and they wouldn't close the schools.
I used to walk to school in the snow.
Uphill both ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is, it further drives home the point, our cities shouldn't have to entirely shut down when we get a little bit of snow and ice. And I appreciate actually that they do, because we've designed cities where the only way to get around is in a giant screaming metal death machine, which, partnered with ice is extremely dangerous. So, I do think it's good that, the city slows down, decides to not make people get on the roads. That's a good thing. But wouldn't it be better if we could just like go outside in a fashion that didn't put other people in danger?
Yes. 1,000%.
It always highlights that for me when I hear about the, cities a little further south, completely shutting down. When they get a little snow.
Yeah, but the numbers do bear that out. It's like inclement weather is a pretty... Yeah. It's more people die on the roads, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, stay safe out
as
there.
resident roadway death in chief, expert in chief, roadway death secretary, as the secretary of roadway deaths, an ambassador to Louisiana. All right, we're looking at the weather. Winter Storm Enzo. I didn't know they named these.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Lafayette, Louisiana has 7.5 inches of snow.
7.5 inches of snow.
That's
in
awesome.
Lafayette, Louisiana. That's crazy. See you later, alligators. Like it's gonna kill alligators, right? Or crocodiles. I don't fucking know.
Okay, it looks like New Orleans is really getting some. Wow.
Yeah,
Jackson.
I have some friends there, and I saw they posted that they were like hunkering down.
Oh yeah, so Texas is chilling, and the Gulf Coast. Wow, look at this. Houston's getting it.
Yeah. That's wild.
Mobile, Alabama, is in Chillyville right now.
How cold is it in Mobile?
26 degrees.
Wow, that's cold, man. That's cold.
That's crazy.
I mean, what do the alligators do?
Bro, I don't know.
They just like turn off. They have that like, prehistoric animal ability to just like turn off. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I think we all have it.
Absolutely.
No, so last night at work, I was just so upset that people were even coming to dine with us. Because I was like, bro, it's fucking cold outside. I got to bike home.
That's why they want gumbo, man. I mean, gumbo in the cold.
Fuck
there you
your
go.
gumbo. I want to go home. So I was drinking cognac and cleaning and just like all pissed off. Like, I don't know. It was a bad vibe. It was a super bad vibe. It was my least favorite. I got stiffed on MLK Day. You know, it's not what he would have wanted. It's just a tough life, brother.
Yeah.
Just a tough life.
Yep. Well, we have our new old president back.
I cannot believe Donald Trump is the first day of the second Trump presidency.
Yep, this is the first full day of the 47th presidential.
Dude, I wasn't even paying attention. It's like Ohio State won a national championship. It's fucking cold outside. TikTok. Everyone's talking about TikTok. I swear to God. So it's like, I've never heard as many different parties at the restaurant talking about the same thing as TikTok. Like, TikTok is the story of the year. Like, everyone's on it.
Yeah.
Not like TikTok itself, but everyone's talking
on the topic
about TikTok and China.
Yeah, I mean, it's there are legitimate reasons for considering banning TikTok, but if you don't believe that the other companies that happen to be American owned, I'm doing air quotes, are doing the same thing with our data and infringing upon our privacy for the same ends, then you're an idiot. Like, it's I appreciate the implications of a foreign government having access to that kind of information, but what are they going to do with people's, porn addiction and algorithmic data? I don't know. I feel like it's equally as harmful and terrible to use the other apps, Instagram, etc., that do the exact same thing.
Right. It's like, we know that the government has access to the Meta database and the Google database and the Microsoft databases, right? So it's like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
If the Chinese government,
what are they gonna do? They're talking about doing
who fucking cares? They can read our texts, so it's like, now we know they can read our texts. I forget who it is. Maybe it's the NSA. But they've said publicly, like, hey, we're pretty sure China can read all of our texts.
Well, it is an interesting, convergence of things, because the technocrats and the social media companies, have consistently tried to encourage the public that digital virtual spaces are as good as in-person physical spaces. That's been their MO for the last 15, 20 years. And I stand against that idea pretty firmly. I think that we need to gather together in real space and hear each other and smell each other and do theater and music and all these sports, like all these things that are important culturally. But that idea is threatened a little bit by the fact that you don't know who's listening to you and who can read your correspondence. So I appreciate their sort of between a rock and a hard place, just with how they're trying to deal with it as they continue to try to push us away from gathering in person and exercising our political will. Do they want us to not exercise our political will, or do they want in person, or do they want a situation where a foreign government or foreign agents or, anti-American quote unquote agents can influence our online spaces? What would they prefer? Remains to be seen.
Well, they can influence our online spaces, right?
Well, of course.
I think but they can't influence our in-person spaces.
Not in the same way.
Yeah. Well, they can show up. I think the CIA has sent people to essentially disrupt political organizing for a really long time.
Of course, but that is something that requires, people power and planning and strategy. It's not just a given of the platform.
Yeah, a certain level of blackness to attract the CIA's attention.
Yeah, absolutely. A certain level of a black power threshold, if you will.
Yes. My black power metrics are through the roof.
Yeah. When are you going to create blackpower.report?
I don't know. I don't know. Is that where you report black radicals to the government?
No. No, that would be.
That would be bad. That would be bad.
Um, but
Oh boy! Oh boy! Oh boy!
did you watch the inauguration
No,
speech?
fuck. I was at work. I was serving people. All pissed off.
It was like at 11 a.m. your time. You were working lunch?
I guess now he got his morning inauguration.
Yeah, it was
No.
it was 10 a.m. I think in Mountain Time.
I was trying to migrate my Mastodon from bencarnero.com to its.bencarnero.com.
So migrating your Mastodon, that has to do with gooning?
It's no, it's not a Gooner. It's a Linux thing. I was fucking dicking around on a Linux server trying to set up my portfolio and get my Mastodon account migrated to a new server.
As far as euphemisms go, migrating my Mastodon is a pretty good one.
Yeah, no, it's good. I'll tell that one to the boys. All the other people who like trains that I send my tweets to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most relevant to our beat from Trump's inauguration speech. I'm sure, listener, you have heard sound bites of it by now, but he said you're going to be able to buy the car that you want. There was a whole lot of like America is in a desperate situation and Trump's going to be our savior. A lot of comparisons between him and Christ, and a lot of promises that we're going to drill baby drill, and now we're going to be able to buy whatever car we want. It's pretty bleak. With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote.
But that's what it represents to people. I don't know. It's like how can you convince someone to spend $12,000 a year, but with like ideology? It's represents so much freedom, and so much prosperity, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at all this wealth that I have. Right. I think for some people it represents a sort of humility, right? Like, look at my Corolla.
Indeed, it's a signifier of identity, and so for some people that's a big truck with truck nuts hanging off of it that blows black smoke, and for some folks that is a Corolla that puts along and is fuel efficient and is better than, and by contrast is gentler than the truck with truck nuts. But they're both deadly vehicles. That's the tough thing, is it gives us this illusion of identity.
It is important to acknowledge that there's essentially just a direct correlation with vehicle size and hazard to the public at large. So
Indeed.
It is twice as shitty to drive a big truck and be a little fucking dumb fuck.
Yeah.
I've been commenting. I'm getting ads for like Truck Month and like Nile Maxwell Ford, and I've been commenting on all the ads for trucks that I get. I have a tiny little dick. I'd like to buy this truck.
Lovely.
No, and nothing against people with small dicks. This podcast.
It's really for
everybody.
you.
It is for you. Nothing against you.
Well, and I mean, it just continues to reframe the conversation around, personal choice and freedom, when, what he's really pushing against and, what he said he was going to, take away is the electric car mandates and rebates and things like that. And those vehicles are not any better in terms of our beat, talking about roadway safety, roadway deaths, the electric cars aren't any better. So it continues to reframe this conversation about, internal combustion engine traditional motor vehicles versus electric vehicles. But that's not a valuable way. It's not a valuable heuristic to consider how to make our roads safer.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely some benefit to e-car world and autonomous car world, but it's at its core, it's just so incredibly inefficient a system that between the rubber in the tires and the environmental costs to manufacturing everything and road maintenance and it's and the effects to wildlife, right, from having these big barriers that we carve up our ecosystems with. It's I think laughable to say that simply self-driving cars or electric vehicles are going to even come close to mitigating like the violence born on cities from cars and car-oriented development, but also like the ecological catastrophe that we have created via our urban development patterns.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the mitigating factor of roadway violence remains to be seen, whether autonomous electric vehicles will be able to do that. I think it'll definitely decrease it, but to what extent? I think people will still be run over. I know that our society is driven by efficiency and speed and domination. And so even if we have robot cars that are more sensitive and able to stop, like, they're still going to let them operate at speeds that end up killing people. Because accidents happen. Like, robots are still prone to accidents. Any
That's
system.
The whole point.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I think it really will help reduce
absolutely
pedestrian injuries, because it's like people are so fucking careless. The average person is such a fucking dick.
Yeah, and they're distracted. I mean, we have a million things. I mean, I spent a lot of time in the car with someone this week who was, trying to listen to football and bet on football and bet on MMA and like run all these things on his phone while he was driving. And, I mean, luckily we were safe. We didn't hurt anybody, but this is how I imagine when I'm a pedestrian or on my bike. This is how I imagine every motorist.
Yeah.
Is,
it's
that
true
distracted.
Though. Like physically addicted to TikTok. Steering wheel, like phone on the steering wheel. Shrek talking.
Yeah. We did pass a law in Colorado that went into effect January 1st. You're no longer allowed to use your phone in your hand in any driving scenario. You can get
as long as they don't ban joiking off, I'm okay with it.
That's a pretty
just two horny guys making a podcast about gooning. I almost posted on LinkedIn. I almost posted on LinkedIn. This is a podcast for serious gooners only. But I wanted to say this is a podcast for people with a serious gooning problem, where we sometimes talk about the bus.
Yeah, it's just like not accurate, right? I don't know. Ben is controlling the brand and the narrative here, and
I'm a brand
listener,
genius.
You know my position.
Visionary. Apple. Tim Cook. Tim Apple. I am Steve Jobs.
Andy Apple. But yeah, so I spent the week in Grand Junction in the Grand Valley. We, drove all the way as far south as Montrose, was in Carbondale, went through Glenwood Springs, spent some time there. And it really is fascinating, being outside of one of our larger urbanized areas. Spent most of my time in Denver, and being out where literally everything and every area is designed around the automobile it was jarring, and just the changes in culture outside of driving as well were fascinating. I mean, it's a beautiful country. We went up the Colorado National Monument. If you ever have the chance to go there, I definitely recommend it. Gorgeous red rock formations. But just a really bleak urbanized setting, and so many people that, would definitely self-identify as rural, but, eat at a restaurant 3 times a day. And by restaurant, I mean Red Robin, right? But, have their food prepared in a commercial kitchen, which is an inherently urban activity. And yeah, it's good to be back in the city, even though, I don't love the urban environment in my city.
Yeah.
It's so much better than where I was this last week. And, much love to those people in Grand Junction. As I was, working as a salesperson, the number one thing that I used to get into conversations with people was like, hey, I'm usually in Denver. I'm so glad I'm not there. Jesus. They love to hate on the city.
Yeah, everybody loves to hate on the city when you're from the country, so to speak.
Yep.
No, it's
we
so
used
true
to have
though.
a country.
It's like people are afforded so many urban conveniences, essentially, no matter where they live now. You have to really live out in the sticks to not have stuff.
Yeah. Or you
can live in like the hood, right? Like sometimes you live in a part of a city that is boxed in by infrastructure, like hostile infrastructure, and then there's like not enough investment in the neighborhood itself to where you have access to like the necessary amenities for living or the necessary employment for living. It's like, what if you're poor? Like, what if you're car free in the sticks? That's like a whole new level of poverty.
Or, I mean, it would force one into a whole new level of self-sufficiency and true, like, rural autonomy, right? Where you were growing enough of your own food and you planned your supply runs out in such a way that you were able to subsist for however long you needed. Maybe you could, get out, catch some sort of public transit, several miles away to go do whatever shopping you needed to do. But it would force you to be truly autonomous. And, that's what a lot of the rural identity, at least that I experience in the West out here, is an identity of self-sufficiency. But you're not self-sufficient if you drive your, 2-ton truck burning 10 miles of gas, or 10 miles of 10 gallons of gas a mile to go, pick up McDonald's for your family. That's not self-sufficiency. And sure, maybe you earned the money to buy that for your family, and I respect that. I'm definitely politically, centered around the worker and around labor. But, like, we need to deal honestly with our situation and to try to assert that someone that drives a 2-ton vehicle to pick up fast food has any level of self-sufficiency I would challenge it. It's just a fallacy. It's a lie that we tell ourselves.
It's urban living.
It's urban living, exactly.
Yeah.
Cheeseburgers are urban.
It's urban living. America is urban, baby. 80% now, right?
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah, something like that. And there's only a few select places that are truly, quite rural. Think about like northern Maine, probably some of the Everglades, like.
UP ain't too urban.
Nope, UP, that's another place. Yeah, northern Minnesota.
Yeah. Death Valley.
Death Valley.
Okay, I gotta pee. I need 2. I need 2 minutes.
Yeah, do it.
Or in fact, do you want to get another cup of coffee? Do you want to come back in 5?
Sure. Should I just let it roll here?
Yeah, just leave it. I'll be.
All right.
Yeah, it would be chill if I could get another cup of coffee.
Yeah. Take your time.
Okay, cool. 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, I am turbo reloaded. How we doing?
We are here.
How you doing? Thank you for that. I was able to make myself a cup of coffee, take a massive leak, and take a few puffs off the old joint Ruski. So
There you go. Well, hey, you're
I'm
refreshed and
I'm
ready
having
to
a
go.
Joe Rogan experience over here.
There you go. I yeah, I got myself a little coffee. I read you'll find in the recording here. I read from the inauguration speech transcript the little bit about auto workers and cars. So
Oh wow.
if you want to edit that back in to where we talked about that, you'd be welcome to do so.
Fuck yeah, bro.
So yeah, I saw Joe Rogan's face for the first time. I was on this sales trip in the Grand Valley here in Colorado this last week, and I was hanging out with some lovely gentlemen that I work with, total degenerates. They love betting. They love betting on sports. Which, my personal position on that is, to place a bet on sports, I think you should have to look another human being in the eye. I think it's deeply reckless and immoral to allow people to place bets with their hard-earned money on their phone while they're drunk on their couch. Anyway,
No.
That's my personal position. I think it's predatory, and I think it captures a lot of people. But anyway, I was having fun with these guys, and we were watching the MMA fights on Saturday night, and I saw Rogan, who was calling the fight. I hadn't seen him in so long, and it's just amazing. I remember him as the host of Fear Factor. That's the first time I saw the guy when I was like 6 years old, and I loved Fear Factor. But it's amazing the position of cultural prominence he's found himself in. But yeah, I mean, I hadn't really watched cage fighting, MMA, UFC, in quite some time. There's a thrill watching two people beat the absolute shit out of each other. I understand why people like it. But, I think one thing that intersects with our beat is just an incredible crisis of masculinity that we have. These guys in the manosphere, Joe Rogan being the premier player, have really taken advantage of that to the point where they've influenced the world, the outcome of elections, etc. And I just, I dream of a time when, boys have an opportunity to be a little gentler, a little kinder. Like we just don't need this level of violence in our men. And it's sad, and it's directly tied to the automobile as well, as a cultural signifier of masculinity. So I've been just reflecting on that a lot.
Yeah, no, it's woof. That's a lot to chew on.
How would you define your masculinity, as a person who rejects definitely, the automobile, but, is squarely a cis man? I mean, I know you're queer, you're bisexual.
Hey, you're queer.
I am. Thank you. But like, how would you define, your masculinity? I'm curious.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm living in it.
And I mean, masculinity is defined by the way that mask people behave. I'm speaking of, the hegemonic theory of masculinity and femininity, that, these aren't concepts that are rigid. They are fluid social constructs that are built and rebuilt every single day, over time, over years, over moments. And, for me as someone who has, been queer and run in a lot of queer circles, been exposed and subscribed to, a lot of feminism. It's always been a position of mine that I love being that man that's willing to like stand up against the toxic masculinity. It's almost sort of a counter masculinity that I try to walk the walk with in my daily life. But it is hard. It's hard to put your finger on, how to be a person in society, let alone, some sort of culturally signified person that's at odds with what, there's so much influence to be.
I would categorize my masculinity as I'm just trying to add lean mass.
There
I'm
you
just
go.
trying to get big, dude. Right now, I'm just trying to get big.
You're trying to get big and never come.
Leg day every day. I'm trying to eat a lot of chicken and rice to get big. That's how I express my masculinity, by forcing myself to do increasingly difficult feats of physical strength.
Nice. And eating arroz con pollo.
Well, I think there's something to be said for it feels really good to test your boundaries athletically, right? Because then you improve over time if you really push yourself, and it's just gratifying in general, whether you're a boy or a girl, or any,
The trans non-binary person. Yeah. I mean, I hear this from a lot of men in my life that they do associate that physical, pushing through physical discomfort and, reaching new goals physically as tied to their masculinity. And you just said what my counterpoint was, which is, it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, or what your gender expression is. That's a principle that anybody can practice. And so I think, as we continue to roll into a future where, work is, you think just 5-6 generations ago, divisions of labor by sexed characteristics were much more present in the daily tasks needed to exist, especially as it relates to an urban environment. I think that urbanism is inextricable from this conversation about gender, because now in our cities, we live in such a comfortable way that we don't need to chop wood or haul things upstairs. We have machines, and industrialization have certainly created a bit more of an egalitarian world in terms of how you can exist in a city, because you don't have to perform certain tasks.
I would know how to cook if I didn't live in a city. I'm actually a pretty good cook, but
I was gonna say you cook pretty well.
no, but it's fuck, dude. I working in a restaurant, or a series of restaurants for the last 10 years. And then being in an urban environment, but an especially dense urban environment for living in Texas. It's I just never cook. I couldn't tell you the last time I made myself dinner.
Wow, really?
Because I live in West Campus, so it's there's a bodega across the street. There's maybe 30 restaurants within a 5-minute walk. I can get a $9 burrito with chicken, rice, black beans, onions and peppers, lettuce, cheese, pico de gallo. So that it's across the street.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
certainly.
okay, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Go across the street and get a $9 burrito, or spend $5 making myself lunch, and then 2 hours from doing a little bit of prep, doing a little bit of cooking, doing a little bit of dishwashing, right?
Absolutely.
It's so worth it to offload that onto someone else, and especially because that labor is coming at the market rate for food service labor is something like $15 an hour here. So the economies of scale are such that I can buy this labor from someone else at a rate which on paper should be much lower than what my own time should be worth, even though I'm a broke bitch myself.
Yeah. No, and my recent time in Texas, the economy of scale is operating better for you all, at least in your position, than it is for us here. Food is a lot more expensive here in Denver, but it's the same calculation, right? We eat out, probably 3-4 times a week, for exactly the same calculation. We're very busy. We don't have a limitation of options near us. So, there's sufficient diversity that we don't get tired of the food. And, against the cost of labor, it does end up being a reasonable calculation to make. And it just, who doesn't love eating at their favorite restaurants?
And it's like you can be pretty, it's not, everyone knows it's way more economical to cook, right? Especially if you're like a big prepper cuck and you're like, oh, I buy a bunch of beans and a bunch of rice and like 4 whole chickens and then I prep a month of meals. Like, yes, you can make meals for like $1.70 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess I should be doing that because I am broke. So I take it back. I take it back.
It would definitely improve your financial situation over time, for sure.
But I live here. It's like, fuck. I just want some shawarma.
Yeah. I think part of this is, tied into this conversation about masculinity, femininity, gender expression. I take a lot of joy from cooking for myself and my wife, right? Like that's part of what I own as a man that I really love to do. I love taking the time to cook something that tastes amazing for us. Outside of the economics of it, I enjoy doing that because it enriches my life. It enriches the life of someone that I love. There's other cultural reasons to cook and maybe it is because it connects us to, the way it was for our ancestors, several generations ago. Maybe there's something in there because, I also love buying dinner for us, right? Like, I'm not saying that is without its value, but
no, but it is. It's a much hornier activity to cook.
Right.
Yeah, it's many more points. Rhetorically.
Yeah, it's creative. It's bordering on artistic.
Yeah, no, you're making me think I gotta cook for French.
Yeah.
I gotta make a good one.
Yeah, man. When was the last time you cooked a meal for her?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay,
I'm sure she'd love it.
I bring her restaurant food, like, all the time.
Right, of course. You're a provider.
Of foods. Of many good foods. That's about it.
I'm
a leech. This is a transportation podcast. We got to talk about getting hit by a car and, solicitations on the bus.
Yep. I think we're really reaching a place where we need to have a guest.
We need a guest. Do you want to be our first guest? Write to us today.
Yep, write to us today. Make our dreams come true. Otherwise,
I was gonna ask someone, but I got nervous and I didn't do it. I just said it was the guy whose book I just read.
Who is it?
His name is Graeber, Henry Graeber. The book is called Paved Paradise.
There's a guy on our local bus route we call the Grabber.
That's what this podcast needs to be about. We gotta out like bus perverts and like go beat them up.
Yeah,
those YouTube channels are doing really well.
I know, it's pretty sick. Sick.
Society
sick.
Rocks.
Society is sick.
It's like second only to, I don't know, Bum Fights is pretty good. What's it called? Street Beefs, where they make
Yeah,
it's sad.
Yeah, it's sad. But I'm happy to start knocking on doors for, guests to come on the pod. If they're not repulsed by the brand that you've cultivated.
By the fact that we're, starting our exploitative media empire, we're gonna start paying hobos to fight each other. If you're not repulsed by that, please come on the podcast.
Yikes.
We need you more than ever.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's good that, Trump is, he said he's going to allow free speech again, which means he's going to cancel DEAI, but
That means they're coming for the leftists. Whatever they say, that's all it means. Is like we're coming for the left.
Yeah, I mean, we're there, bro. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we got fatwa'd.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Maybe we should be a little chiller.
Do you think Trump knows what a fatwa is? Because if he learns what that is, he's gonna use it.
We're gonna need the Gooners to protect us.
Oh my God, we're cooked.
Boomer Gooner. This is a good podcast.
I mean, yeah, it's run of the mill at this point. Eat your heart out, Russell Brand.
I don't have any transportation content this week. I was doing some computer stuff, but it was like my portfolio and my Mastodon profile. So
yeah, I have my reflections.
I don't have any bus stuff.
I have my reflections on, the urban fabric in the Grand Valley. I mean, I guess I've one thing that came out of that from a lot of conversations with locals is, a lot of people, even out there, are like, oh man, they've ruined Colorado. The Californians have ruined Colorado. And, I always think that's a fascinating phenomenon. People complaining about how their places have changed when cities are inherently like organisms. They grow, they change, parts of them die, grow back.
That phenomenon is ubiquitous. Continue.
Yeah, no, it is. It is a ubiquitous thing that you hear from people all over. I mean, Austin, how often do you hear, the old timers talking about how, it's not the same and they've ruined it?
Every day, everywhere. It's the most Austin thing you can possibly say.
Exactly. And I think it would be tied to the identity of most places, which is interesting. I think I long for a culture of, especially in cities, I can appreciate it where, sprawling suburban type development have swallowed up open lands and beautiful natural spaces. Like I can understand the frustration with that and the frustration with, say traffic even. Like I can empathize with that. But when it's about a city, cities grow and cities change. And in the case of Austin, if Austin were to stay what it was in the 70s, it wouldn't be as nice a place to live as it is now, right?
Yeah. Oh, not at all. Not at all.
You wouldn't have as many restaurants around you. You wouldn't be able to bike the way that you do.
Well, I don't know. The cost of living has gone up a lot.
Yeah.
That's what gets people, the taxes.
Well, in Texas, property taxes are notorious.
That's our biggest tax.
Because it's a larger share of, total taxation.
Sales tax all goes to transportation. Like, the roads are sales tax, I think. Fact check that, but I'm pretty sure it's like 6 cents to TxDOT, then a couple cents to your bus and stuff.
But that's only in the city of Austin. We've discussed on the pod before these, enclaves and suburban municipalities that benefit from access to the city and city infrastructure, but don't pay in, which I think is borderline criminal.
Yeah, well, the rich always get what they want.
That seems to be the case.
They love living in the middle of nowhere. They love living in a white-only neighborhood, just on the outskirts of town, driving to the Denny's.
Eating their Grand Slamwich.
Bro, I could fuck up a Grand Slamwich right now.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty hungry myself, all this talk about food.
Okay, favorite diner in an uninhabitable environment is that IHOP at the intersection of the I-35 service road and Cesar Chavez. The least walkable IHOP in the heart of downtown.
It really is. It's all of that stuff right around there is quite bleak in terms of its access.
It's like a fucking crater, like the area around
Yeah.
the convention center. If there weren't
Yeah.
that bike lane there, the whole area would be a shithole.
Yeah. And they're about to expand the freeway again, right?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how much bigger, but bigger, I guess. And I think they're doing away with upper deck, lower deck. I think that's done for.
Wow, really?
I know, because that was like,
So they're gonna knock the upper deck down?
yeah, and I think it's just gonna be one
Wow.
big freeway. I hate
As
it
God
so
intended.
much. No, and what really sucks is they're widening it at all the points that I cross it.
Right.
So it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, like.
Yeah. So I mean, while it's under construction, it's going to be
Who knows?
even
Who
worse.
knows how much access I'll have to which like crossing points over the next decade that they're doing this.
Have you
And
looked at the plans? Are there even any like half-hearted attempts at like improving?
I mean,
the
they say
crossings?
that it's going to be crossable.
It's got all
And
the
it's-
like right buzzwords. Yeah.
yeah, but it's never crossable.
No.
It's never crossable.
I mean, the air wouldn't be very good to breathe, but what if they just expanded the freeway underneath and they turned the upper deck into, you
Yeah,
know,
they're gonna.
like
They
a
say they're gonna do some like capping on the downtown area,
Cap,
so you
yeah.
should be able to like actually bike across.
no
But
cap?
I'm skeptical because it's like, especially once you get up to like Runberg and Metric, it's just like once you're up in North Austin, there are no crossings, and like the very few that do exist are like sketchy, and you can't really cross them on a bike or on foot. They're just very dangerous, and so it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. They're widening. They're more lanes, wider crossings. For like the 5 miles in the urban core, and then I don't know what they're doing up in North Austin.
Yeah. Well, time will tell, but you know, the situation isn't getting any better and the death map continues to run red with blood.
No, it's true. This is a like pro-death decision, right? This is statistically certain. It's like a certainty that this will cause more death. And I mean, I guess some engineers would argue that, you know, the economic benefit creates more life than death it causes, right? But that's
That's some Ebenezer Scrooge shit, bro.
exactly.
Like,
That's not
then I
equation
suggest they
that's
should
not an
die
equation that I want to be solving for.
and decrease the surplus population. Like, come on. Are you fucking kidding me? Didn't Dickens teach us this? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think a lot of this does have to do with like freight, right? Like it affects the economy at large if freight can't pass through I-35 at Austin. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely appreciate that. But if we simply created viable alternatives to driving vehicles through Austin, you wouldn't need to expand the road to create
Right.
enough
like-
capacity for freight. That's ridiculous.
TxDOT could give us $10 billion and let us like complete the sidewalk network, right?
Yeah.
And complete the bike lane network. And
Whereas widening the freeway will incentivize more driving miles, which will further exacerbate the issue for freight.
so it's like TxDOT knows this. They're not naive. This is a political choice, right?
But those contractors that they pay to expand the freeways matter more than you and I, that's for sure.
Right. They hate city people. They hate urban dwellers, man.
Well, and mostly they just love money.
Yeah, that's true. But they're
Because it's-
just so quick to do it at the expense of urbanites.
Yeah, there's a violence in it for sure. There's always violence in greed.
Excellent observation.
Are there no workhouses?
Bro, MLK would be so upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It's
a
it's pretty
beautiful
bleak,
day.
so it's a beautiful day. Yeah, it's warming up here, thank
Beautiful day.
goodness.
Go outside. Go out in the snow. Get on your bike. Bomb a few hills. I don't know, man. I'm exhausted. I'm fucking exhausted. Been working my ass off. I got nothing to show for it. I'm just a bum with a fucking a really horny podcast and like three Gooner listeners.
Can we prove that we have 3 listeners?
I don't know. No one's reached out.
Is that provable?
You got to send us an email and say I'm a certified freak, and I want a prize. We'll send you a prize.
Or if you send me an email, you can, in good safety and confidence, tell me you listen to the podcast and that you don't subscribe to all of these commitments to whatever it is that Ben is leading us towards.
This is an open challenge to every public servant in America. You're a bitch. Come on the podcast. Come on the podcast and let's fight about it.
Yeah, I love you, man. Stay safe out there. Don't work too hard. Stay warm. Cook your girlfriend a nice dinner, and continue to do your thing. We're gonna move the needle on this someday.
Yeah, no, we're gonna. I don't know. Hopefully, just get some bike lanes built. Good God, that'll save a lot of lives by itself.
Yep, sidewalk networks, bike lanes.
Don't listen to
Transit
the grifters.
investment.
Don't listen to the grifters. The electric car hucksters, the autonomous vehicle hucksters. They're all part of big vehicle. Fuck them.
It's true.
Walk
Don't trust
army.
them.
We will. The Gooner army will rise up. We will be seen in the streets. We will be taking the streets back. The streets are for gooning.
Oh my God. The streets are for walking, existing. If the streets were for gooning, there would be many fewer people dead every year on the street.
An astute observation, Lucas.
Yeah. And on that note, I'm going to sign off here. Ta-ta for now.
Thanks for podcasting with us. We'll see you next week, folks.
All right. Be well.
Bye, Lucas. I miss you, bud.
Bye, man. Love you.